Hi everyone, I'm your host, Ema Burgic.
And I'm your co-host, Jose Camacho.
Whether you're a player or a coach,
or you're just passionate about what you do and you want to be the best at it,
this is the EMAzing Podcast for you. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the EMAzing Tennis Podcast. Today we have Curt Stefan. He's an owner of Custom Tennis Rackets. I actually got connected with him through Anne Grossman because I wanted to get my rackets weighted and checked out, and she's like, the best person here is Curt, so reach out to him. So this is how Curt and I connected. A little bit about him. From 1987 to 1990, he was a producer editor at a tennis magazine TV show. Now he runs his own company, and he's worked with some of really famous tennis players. And I'm just going to name a few of them, not all of them, because
it's a long list.
It's a long list. Even Lendl, which is telling us that you've been in tennis for a long time.
Yep.
Pete Sampras, Michael Chang, Magic Rafter, Andy Murray, Casper Ruud, Martina Navratilova, Monica Seles, Jo Fernandez, Jessica Pegula, Magdalene, Madison Keys. And we can go on and on and on. It's a long list. And now you have to add my name, Ema Burgic, there, please.
I will, definitely.
You really had
we'll add it to the website as soon as
Yes.
I get back to the shop.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm excited to learn more about your story. So tell us, I want to know about the TV magazine. I want to know how you started your business and everything.
Out of college, I went into TV production, and they started working on the tennis magazine show. For your older viewers, there used to be a magazine that was Tennis Magazine that people would get all their information from. We were the TV version of that. Oh. We would do a half-hour show that was syndicated around the country. And I was producer editor on that for 4 years. The company ended up going under. The company that we rented space off of was in the same facility, so I ended up being friends with the guys, and that was Bosworth International. And they were a company that customized rackets for all the top pros in the world at the time. Warren Bosworth had started the business back in the 70s with Rod Laver and Rose Wall and all the guys. Built it up. He was pretty much in the forefront of customizing rackets from the 70s all the way through the 80s. And a couple of those clients on there were his big clients, Yvonne, Martina, that he brought in and helped them out to get to where they were. I went down the hall. They needed a stringer. I didn't have a job, so I walked in. Nate Ferguson at the time was the man in charge. He is now, he owns his own business, Priority One, and he has all the top pros, men's basically out there that he travels with. We were friends before I worked with him. We'd hang out. He called me in. He goes, "You want to string?" I go, "I've never strung before." He goes, "No problem. Perfect. We want to teach you how to do it our way," which they considered the right way. So they taught me. After a year of stringing one racket 400 times, I ended up 30 years later still stringing rackets. But it was a job that I took because I needed a job. But Warren also emphasized, I want to give you something that you can make a career out of, and something that you can have a job to work at, even if it's here or there or somewhere else. But after that year of stringing, Nate came to me one day and said, "Here you go, you're up." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Here's Yvonne's racket. Put it on the machine and it's your turn, go." So I basically, feet to the fire, my first pro, and I had put this on my Instagram a couple months ago because it's my 10-year anniversary of being in business, that Yvonne was my first pro client that I strung for. And if you want to learn how to string real fast and real good, that was the day that I did it. And it's been great ever since. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the top pros, obviously, that you read off, and all of them are fabulous. Behind the scenes, it's a different world than what people see at tournaments and, on the practice courts and everything. When you're isolated and you're one-on-one and you're stringing for them, you have a different relationship with them. And, Yvonne's one of those guys. I still stay in touch with him today. I was on court with him and Andy back in March when they were down here in Florida testing strings. And he's very different from what everybody would imagine he would be. And he's just a total jokester on the backside. He would always come into the office and want to cut my hair. So he'd sneak in the office with a pair of scissors and try cutting my hair while I'm stringing. Just little things like that I cherish now from the old days. And you know, it worked out to be a good thing. And then I was there 21 years, and I've been have my own business for now 10. I've been doing it for 10 years now, and picked up some of my own pros along the way, the later ones that you had read, and work with them.
So, yeah, and you work with a lot of juniors and a lot
I work with some academies. I work with players at academies. I don't work with certain academies. I'm not isolated to just one academy. I do travel around a little bit. We work with some juniors. I'm working with a couple juniors now. Some kids that I have one girl that was number 1 in the world in 12s, 13s, 14s, got injured. She's trying to come back at 19. We've been working with her racket, get through her injuries, and try to get back to the level that she was now. And that's a really hard process to do, to try and get somebody who was so good, so young, and then something happened, and then try to get them back on the track to get back to where they were and want to be. So and you're getting there. You're going through this. That's why we're sitting here.
Yes.
So,
but that's interesting that you say that. Why is it so hard? Like, in which way?
Because well, the particular girl that I'm working with now had never had anybody work on her rackets. Which, if they would have, she probably would have never had any injuries, and would have never had to go down this road of having to just constantly rehab and go through the grind of trying to get better all the time. Because there's a lot of little things, and there's a lot of deep dives we can do into how rackets can prevent injuries. And when you're junior and you're coming up through the ranks, the last thing parents want to spend money on is a racket. They'll get the racket, the string, half the time they won't change it in time. Half the time they won't change grips. Matter of fact, all the little things, and this goes back to Yvonne, that I've learned over the years, is to be a professional is not just looking like a professional when you go on the court. It's all the little things that you do that lead up to it. It's from him. I remember this back when he first started with Andy years ago. They went on court, and Andy came with one pair of shoes, and he yelled at Andy, "What are you doing with one pair of shoes? What happens if you're going to sweat, you're going to blow one out? What are you going to do?" So they got into a big argument about that. That little things like, and I'm going to explain to this girl, I'm like, you need to change your grips every time. You have an elbow problem. You can't be using the same grip 6 times in a row, and it's soaking up moisture, and you're slipping, and you're gripping harder, and you're doing this, and you're doing. There's so many things, like little things, that I'm trying to teach this girl and other juniors that are coming up, that being a pro isn't going out and winning a match. Being a pro is everything that leads up to you to being able to win a match. And sometimes it's hard because the younger junior kids are not mature enough to comprehend it.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I've never been taught these things, right? Like, I never, like, even you saying this right now, I'm like, wait, do I have to change my grip like every time? Do I have to change my grip every time?
Your overgrip.
You're
over. I'm talking about the overgrip. Like,
overgrip, but still, like, for every practice to change the grip? Really?
Well, here's what I told her. I told her, at least take it off, because especially if you're here in Florida, you're sweating.
Is that what pros do?
Every time.
See, I don't know.
Every time that they would play a match, pros that we dealt with would take the rackets, or we would take the rackets to go restring them, and we take every overgrip off, because you let the undergrip dry out. Because if the undergrip doesn't dry out, you put a new fresh overgrip on it, it just soaks up the moisture, you get slippage, and there's a lot of issues that can happen. It's just little things, but it when you get to a certain level, those little things add up.
Yeah.
And I said that to Yvonne years ago, and he was with the USTA out at Chris Everett's, and he goes, "Go over and look at my 16-year-old over there and tell me what you think." And I was leaving the facility. I went over, I looked at him. The first thing I text to him, I go, "Can you teach him how to change a grip?" His grip looked like he dragged it through the mud. And I'm like, it was Taylor Fritz.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So Taylor's learned a lot, obviously, since then. But it's just little things that, I pick up because I'm around it every day. But they don't teach this at academies. Coaches don't care about it. Parents don't know. So it is what it is. But it drives me crazy. Just little things like that. Cause
I can imagine, because you've been in this business and in this world for so long that you see these little things, right? You see it on a daily basis.
Right.
And for you in your head, you're probably like you want to share that message of how important it is to focus on these little things, right?
Right. Try to educate somebody on it.
Try to educate. So I want to be educated today. I really do.
Okay.
Okay, let's start from the basics. So, let's just focus on me. Okay? We're just focusing here on me.
I wish I would have came and watched you practice a couple of times. Then I'd have a really good feel on what's going on.
God. But I would be scared.
I'll try to read it.
You see, I had so many injuries, as a junior. I won my first professional title when I was 16.
Yep.
I was always talented, always, but always little injuries like that, right? But I don't think I ever, until I got to college and we had somebody to customize the rackets and everything, until then, like, I just played, honestly. When somebody asks me, what do you prefer? I'm like, whatever you give me, I can play with it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm so good, I can play with anything. But you know what I mean.
Right. Until you get to a certain level.
Until you get to a certain level. So it's like, now it's like, what? Okay, like, can you tell me, can you educate me on things without watching me? Or is it like, are there some things that, like, for everyone, or you would have to watch me to tell me?
There's some things for everyone, like the grip thing, like I mentioned. It's like you're sweating. The grip is like you dunked it in a tank of water. You can help yourself out in the long run with that. What was your injury?
You see here, I have 4. It was forearm. Yeah, like every time I would play more, this would get swollen, so it was like a nerve pressing on a muscle.
Gotcha.
And then I had a shoulder surgery.
Okay.
So these two are the main.
Okay. What was it? What I usually ask if I'm talking to people about injury and coming back and rehabbing and what to play with and so forth. Was it a one-time something happened when you hit, or over a consistent time of just wear and tear?
Wear and tear. That was, I had three main things I was dealing with. And right now, out of these 3, I have a low back / sciatica performance syndrome, like shooting down my leg on the left side.
Yep.
So these 3, 1, 2, 3. Right now, I'm dealing only with this one because I'm not using this one as much. I'm not practicing that much. But I know as soon as I start playing matches again and tournaments,
Yep.
and I play and it's the stress. It's different than when you're practicing, right? The stress when you're playing a match.
Right, it's totally different.
Your muscles are completely tense and different than in practice. So I know that this will get, it gets tired.
Yep.
And it gets swollen a little bit. So maybe it's the strings in the racket.
It was probably
probably
the strings in the rackets when you were like 16 or 17.
Yeah, for sure.
Of what, escalated into all the issues that you have now.
So how do I
So you
prevent
can't rewind time, obviously. You can't go back.
No.
But what you can do is you can move forward, and there's things in the racket that we can do with the racket that can help you prevent further injury. Obviously, you don't want any more injuries, and maybe help you out in the long. Like everybody, the biggest thing was always, I got tennis elbow. What am I going to do? And I've had people say I had tennis elbow for a year. I tell them, first of all, let's start off and put a set of gut in there, natural gut.
Okay.
Nobody uses natural gut anymore because it's $75 for a string job. You put that, and I've done it. I had a couple people. I put them in. They're like playing, and it's like, yeah, I'm better now. I can at least hit the ball, and get through it. The strings are obviously a big issue with injuries, because the polys, which everybody has gone to in the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of kids are going to have injuries if they don't string it the right way and they don't cut it out and they leave it in, because the string will go dead, and then you're going to get all the pressure on your arm from the racket instead of the racket absorbing it. So I don't know. You said you were using Lux Lawn, which you shouldn't be using Lux Lawn. Maybe we could get you onto something different, but make you feel happy about playing the way you're playing.
So wait.
That's the biggest issue.
I just started using Lux Lawn because it just felt good, but I don't have to use Lux Lawn.
Okay. Fortunately, Lux Lawn, out of all the polys that are out there, Lux Lawn is probably the best out there as far as the makeup of it. You know, it's a little bit softer. It's a little more forgiving than a lot of so-called polys that came behind it that just wanted to get on the market, and is a little bit stiffer. So if you're going to use a poly, I would probably lean towards using what you're using, the Lux Lawn.
I don't know what I will be using. I don't know what I should be using. That's why I am talking with you. Well, that's why I'm like,
let's do this like we did with your racket, because. So
what did you do with my racket?
We took your old racket when we talked before, and we went back to the old spec, and then we made the new one to that spec. You know, adjusted it to that spec. What string were you using when you were playing?
I don't know.
Do you have any idea?
Nope.
Well, then this is going to be a hard puzzle to put together. Then
I can ask my coach.
It's just, I mean, it's not like you're going to go back and use that string.
Just so we know.
It's just so you know where you came from, and maybe when you were playing in college, did you have any issues with your injuries?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah, I had a shoulder surgery.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So I don't think we should use that string.
No.
In college.
But see, it gives me an idea of what to stay away from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you know,
No idea.
Most likely, you were probably on a poly. It's been.
I think it was a mix.
It was a hybrid.
Yeah.
It's probably synthetic, maybe poly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because a lot of people went to poly and then it was too harsh, and then they tried to soften it up by mixing it.
Okay, can we know for us, like, not that very educated people on strings, can you tell us the difference between? Oh, before I ask you that, have you ever thought about making your own strings? You coming up with, like, because you're in, imagine like how good of a business would that be for you? You know, like, instead of using someone else's strings when you're stringing, you know exactly what's good, and you develop these strings. I don't know. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, you must.
Never thought about it.
Actually,
only for the reason of, to get into that market, you have to be a company that has been pretty much already established into the tennis market. Like, Lux Lawn took a long time to come out. I remember when they first came out. The guys back in the 70s used poly. It went away because gut came on. Felt really good. Now poly came back in mid to late 90s when I started stringing. They couldn't give it away. They were literally giving it away until Guga won the French. And he had poly in. So everybody's like, this is the miracle string. This is the magic. So then it was like a mad rush. And then obviously over the last 20 some years, it's been a mainstay. And all the pros are using pretty much it. They hybrid a little bit with gut, the top guys. But you see all the pros using it, so everybody wants to follow in that footstep and use it too. Because if they're using it and they're having results, then I'm going to get it too.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, obviously. There's still people out there that I string that don't use a poly; they use a synthetic. And I
asked you why you never.
Oh, made my own string?
Yes.
I guess I was too busy just running my business, putting the strings in instead of worrying about. I mean, there's people coming out with it. That's where I was getting with Lux Lawn. You know, Lux Lawn took a long time to get to the level that they're at now. They're probably some 35 years to get where they're at.
35?
Probably, because from the time they started it and then they started giving it away to everybody. They literally, I think, we're getting packages and packages, and we're like, what is this stuff, you know? And it's like, put in a couple people's rackets. We had a couple lower tier pros at the time. They were even putting their pictures on the lower tier pros and trying just anybody to play with it at the time. But it takes a long time to get into the market and to get your string. Obviously, you have to make a good string too, and to go through all the processes of trying to get there. That's just easier for me to, take the pro string and put it in the racket, whatever they like.
I mean, true.
I understand what you're saying.
Just an idea. I mean,
no,
I mean, I think your business, and I don't know, but obviously I don't know anything about strings, and I don't know what the process would be.
And personally, I'm not mixed up in all the molecules, and I know a little bit. I'm not a scientist on this stuff where if they put so many beads of this or so many beads of that, and I'm just like, I'll leave that to the other people. To the other people to do that. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. The other question I was going to ask you: what is the difference between poly, synthetic, and natural gut?
And natural gut. That's great because those are the three main strings basically right now.
That's only three that I
basically. Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Is that all there is?
Yeah. Start with the gut. The gut is a natural string. It comes from a cow. Gut, intestines.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Actually, I didn't know this.
Yes.
Okay,
There's
great.
videos out there. Anybody want to YouTube it? There's videos out there of them spinning gut. They get. It used to be in the old days cat gut. They used to use cat gut.
No.
Then, because the rackets were so small, they could get away with cat gut. Then the rackets got bigger, so then they went to cow guts. And it got to the point when I was working with Warren, he was working with a gentleman in Pacific. It was called Pacific. They were a tennis company manufacturing gut from only certain cows from Australia because the quality of the gut was so much better.
Wow. This is really interesting.
Now you're getting really deep with
yes,
it.
we are.
Anyways, gut,
but good. I like it.
Gut is a natural fiber.
Okay.
Meaning, when they take it and they take strands of it and they'll twist it together. If you ever played with natural gut or if you've seen natural gut, over a period of time when you wear it out, it hairs up.
Yeah.
It hairs up, right? Well, those are all the spills coming across. They start to unwind. The more they do, the better to feel because you're getting thinner. So, but the tension on the gut will every racket when you take it off a machine comes down a percentage on tension, but the gut will maintain it for like ever, basically. I had a racket from Vitas Gerulaitis they pulled out in my old office when I was working there, and he went out and hit with it, and it felt the same. It was like almost 15, 20 years old gut that was sitting in it. Synthetic is basically plastic beads that they wind together. Or there's different multi-filaments. There's different setups of the synthetic gut. It's basically in between the poly and the natural gut. It's going to give you a lot more feel. It has a lot more sponge to it. It's softer. The polys are harder, obviously. They're for more control, and the reason, and they kind of they last longer than the other than the other synthetics that's out there. And that's the reason everybody jumped on to the Lux Lawns and the polys, is because the South Americans, where it really grew a lot on the clay, they can get a day or two out of it instead of using a synthetic, which would break on the clay really quick. So they were getting more time on it, and that's what they liked about it. But you had to string it a lot lower because it's a lot stiffer, and it dropped tension a lot quicker. So it drops tension quicker. Synthetics in the middle of the gut, which would last a long, long time. And that's why I said people who get a gut job, they could leave it in there for 6, 8, 9 months, and it would be from the time I hand it to them to the time they break the string. If they don't break it, they're good.
Okay, you really threw me off with the cow gut. I'm still there. No,
you're gonna be googling cow gut.
We have to make a real
cow gut. But no, Babolat has because Babolat is basically the main company that does gut, and they still do gut, and I still string a couple of my clients with gut, but they are the main company, and they do have a video out there of and when you see it, it's like a piece of string. When it comes in, it's string. They salt it. They dry it out. They show you the whole process in it and how they make it.
So, okay, another question. Okay, so you would use poly for more control, and because it lasts longer. Synthetic is in between natural. Like, would you ever like put natural, got like the whole set, like, or you would do the hybrid, like mix it with poly?
It all depends on the player.
So who uses what nowadays?
The top players.
Go top players. What they use.
Okay, I'm talking top players on the men's side. Let's go on the men's side. They're using Lux Lawn and gut.
Okay, Lux Lawn and gut. But what kind of gut? Natural?
Natural gut, yeah. Babolat.
Babolat?
Most likely Babolat. Babolat is like the main company with gut.
What's the other?
I think there's a company out there called Clip. I don't know where they're out of, and there's another lower tier company from England. I think that makes gut too.
Is it true that I heard Djokovic uses Technifiber? I don't know. Somebody told me.
No. What they're seeing, the natural color that looks like a Technifiber, is gut. So he's using.
And then Lux Lawn. For sure.
And Lux. And they hybrid.
But which one? 125 or what do you know?
They probably we're deep diving into
fine.
this.
I mean
and I'm sure it's so funny because you can go on the internet and find out anything you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're probably adjusting. Nate's gonna kill me because he's doing his rackets. But they're probably adjusting, and I'll stay vague on it as much as possible and still give you information. They're probably adjusting, like from the grass courts to hard courts on the thickness of the string. We used to do that with Yvonne and Pete. Like when they went to grass court, they would go thinner. Like they would go. Gut is measured in gauges, like 16 gauge, 17 gauge, 15 gauge is thick. They would go from. And then in millimeters. They would go from like a 125 on a standard, like if they're playing on hard courts or on the clay. They then go to grass, they would go to like 120. They would go like 5 millimeters thinner.
Why?
Because the reaction of the ball.
Okay.
So you get more feel out of it.
And then how often do they string rackets? Like the top
from
players
my inside source that I'm not going to name.
No. The players you worked with and you work with. You don't have to name.
But no, see, that's totally different.
It's different.
Because when I was working at my old place, we were shipping rackets around the world. At the time that I came on, they decided to have one main office and everything go out of there. They used to travel around the world with players, and it just got too expensive. And then obviously with the world getting smaller, because you had FedEx, we were FedExing everything overnight. My biggest day was 24 rackets for Monica Seles.
In one day?
In one day.
How?
And then we shipped them out, and she used them for the whole week of the tournament.
24 rackets?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she didn't want to have on-site stringing. She wanted our stringing. So what we did is we calculated out the tensions for the whole week because we knew she'd probably get into the final. She had 24 rackets for a week, freshly strung, which is low because the guys now that are out there, my inside source, is doing rackets, and he does anywhere from 8 to 10 a day for a tournament.
Wow.
For I should say, let me rephrase that. For a match. So if they go into a match and they have 8 to 10, you got to remember, these guys are going 5 sets at Grand Slams too. And here's another tip we got from Yvonne is ball change, racket change. Because you have a fresh ball that's going to bounce different than the old ball. You have fresh strings that's going to be the same. It's everything with stringing. The biggest thing for stringing and finding a stringer that you like and you're going to use is consistency.
I'm so far behind on this.
It's all all consistency.
Yeah.
Because like if And I've had this with players go, you string for me and I love it, but when I go on the road, obviously, you've been out there and you've seen guys stringing with drops, weight machines and all kinds of different stuff. You ask them for 52 pounds and it comes back at 40 pounds. So consistency between stringers, and that's why majority of top pros, Djokovic, Wawrinka, and all those guys will travel.
Because they have all the money in the world. Not really.
But that money's making them money.
Exactly. You're right. You're completely right.
So you're not going to get a race car driver saying, I don't want to change my tires and try to win a race. They don't, people, and this is the thing that falls back to being junior or even college players, that the last thing they'll ever put money into is a racket. Yeah. And that's the one thing that's going to get you ahead. Yeah. I don't want tennis is like, if you walk into any golf pro shop or a store, you'll see guys dropping clubs down and paying $1,000 just to get the heads fixed the right way. Yeah. Meanwhile, tennis isn't like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but now, like, when you think about it, like, to go on tour and to, like, from taking care of your body, nutrition, this, that, practices, blah, 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 then this, like, where would you rank this stringing and taking care of the rackets in there, from like tennis practices, fitness, conditioning, nutrition, recovery, massages, the physical therapy? Where would you put it?
You're like asking me which kid is my favorite kid. You can't do that. Which kid's your favorite kid? Huh? And
I don't have.
We'll have this on video to show them in 20 years too.
You have 3 kids. You said?
I got 2. 2 boys. Same thing.
Oh yeah, 2 boys like me.
It's the whole. It's basically the whole. It's the whole package of what you just named.
It is, but like, if you had to prioritize some things, like if I can.
Obviously.
Everything, yeah.
Obviously, the main thing is your health. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be on the court.
Yeah, but what if my strings and my racket are affecting my health, and I'm not aware of that, and I'm doing everything else, but like.
But that's part of being healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're realizing that you got arm issues, it's not because you're doing 20 push-ups. It's because something is bothering it, and what's bothering it is in your hand, your racket.
Oh, my God. In all these
We got a lot of work with you?
Yes. All these years, you have to see, even like while coaching in the last 7 years, I literally like have so many demo rackets in my pro shop because I just get demo rackets. Mm-hmm. So, what I would do, like, depends on the day, like, what outfit I'm wearing, I would match the rackets with my outfit.
That you would play with, yes. But I see it with a lot of junior players with the academy, the parents, obviously financially. But it's, you got to sometime make the choice if you're really going to be in this sport and want to be a professional. Yeah. You got, good story was Rafter. We worked with Rafter since he was like 16, 17. Awesome guy. Came in, sat there, read the paper, strung rackets. Very quiet guy. He got a contract. His contract was up with Prince. And Prince wanted to sign him another contract, but Prince wanted him to use the white TT Warrior. It's painted all white. And he said, no, I can't. Tennis players, and over the years I've found they're very neurotic about their certain things. Yes. He goes, nope, I'm playing with this. And Prince is like, well, we're not going to sign you. And he's like, fine. What'd he do? He went out and played with his original Prince racket, won the U.S. Open, and made 3 times much money from Prince than if they would have signed him before they went to the Open. Wow. So he stuck to his guns and did what he knew he had to do. Yeah. And we've always preached that a lot. And I say this all the time about all the younger pro players, men players on tour. They chase the dollar. They don't chase trophies. And I tell everybody and all the kids that I deal with at junior camps, chase trophies and dollars will follow. Yeah. And you see it from all the pros, all the guys, Pete, Andre, Agassi, all those guys. They played for trophies, and now obviously they reap the benefits of it from winning all the trophies. If you win trophies, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And you leave a legacy.
That's so true. I love that. So what would you say for for a recreational club player, like how, like when somebody comes and asks me as a coach, because I do work in a country club, what strengths should I be using? Like, let's say, I mean, I can go from a lady that's like 40, 50, plays like few times a week, or I can go from a recreational guy that's in his like 20s or 30s, plays also a few times a week,
Right.
but no tournaments, no nothing, but just, wants to get better. Like, how do I decide, and the tension, and like when they really don't know anything about the strengths?
There's a couple little rules that you can follow. You said the older lady first. You're probably going to go with a little bit wider beam, the wider beam on a racket. As far as rackets go, the wider beam is going to give her a little more power, because most likely they're not generating the power, or they're not hitting out. They're just butting the ball back, what we call pushers. A string for her, something like that, would definitely stay away from any polys. I would put some synthetic in, just for it's softer, so you don't want to get her out of the game before she's in the game, so to speak. Younger guys, if you got guys in their 20s, 30s that are going out and swinging, maybe you can put them on a poly. Maybe on, like Wilson is a more standard beam or head, where it's a little bit thinner. They get more control, and they have confidence to swing away. A lot of stuff that we do with the pros, and one of the pros that I work with, Magna Lynette, we did over the last year and a half, is we transitioned her from Babolat to Yonex. And the reason that happened is because the Babolat was giving her power, but it wasn't. It's very, when you get to such a high level, every little thing is huge, and she didn't have the mentality or the confidence to play her game with that Babolat. Changing that racket, and like within the first 2 weeks working with her coach, he's like, she's a totally different player. She can go out. Her mind is totally different on where she's at on the court and how she's playing and approaching and attacking the game, because she had more confidence in that racket. The rackets were exactly the same weight and balance, same strings, everything. It's just the rackets, but one racket gave her a little more control. That little bit more control gave her so much confidence. And then obviously she got to semis in Australia this year. Yeah. And we did it with Jessica too, with Pegula. Went from Babolat to Yonex. And
really?
Yep.
But why?
I've been working.
Why Yonex?
I've been working with her for 6 years now, and she was on the Babolat Arrow. She can generate more power than probably anybody on the women's tour.
Yeah.
She just couldn't get the control.
Yeah.
So then we ended up going to Yonex, because Yonex is notoriously, just the head shape on it a little bit will give you a little bit more control than the other rackets, the other manufacturers. So then just in testing, we did some testing, and then same thing. It's just like she just skyrocketed. It went through. She can go out. The racket, we found the magic wand for them at that point.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to your, sorry, got off of that one.
Goes from a recreational,
your recreational, the strength. Like I said,
Pegula.
If you got younger guys that hit a lot and they are pretty, not subject to injuries, then they can go, put them on polys and have a Wilson or a head racket where they can get more control out of it, because it's a thinner beam. The older clientele maybe go on a little bit thicker racket, Babolat, or even the Wilsons. They have other retail Wilsons out there that are a little bit thicker. Give them a little bit more pop. They don't have to swing away as much, in synthetics on it to keep the arm soft.
What about tension?
Tensions, I with somebody like that, if they don't know what their tensions were, I would try just starting in the recommended from the factory. So there's usually a good starting point. Okay. And like if it says recommended 55 pounds, and you notice you go out and you give lessons to a lady, or you're working with somebody and the ball's flying out of the court and she's not even hardly hitting it, then you would go up in tension for control and down for power.
Okay. Then what about the juniors? I mean, like 10 and under.
10 and under. This is good, because I'm working with a girl now who's 12, and I've been working with her for 2.5 years. I string for her. Like, her mom played a little bit on tour, but she gets like 4 rackets strung a week from me.
Wow, is she good or what?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's good, and
Okay.
she has a little sister too that's a couple years younger. It's very tricky because that you really have to hone into the player, their size, their ability, their strength. She's playing with Babolat racket, Babolat drive, and she has we just switched her over to a hybrid of a soft poly and a synthetic. She ended up getting a little bit more control out of that than just doing straight. So those kind of players, and everybody always says to me, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you can't give me an answer of little Jimmy, unless I see little Jimmy, and if I kind of,
Yeah.
you don't, everything that I tell everybody is like, somebody always comes up to me and says, what's the Magic Racket? What's the Magic String? And we had talked about this before. The top 3, Roger, Federer, and Joker, they all play with different manufacturers. Their string is pretty much a little bit different from each other. Tensions are all different. So everybody's different in personality and the way that they play. I tell people you have to try things, but everybody wants to just get quickly to it.
To next. There's no magic. I mean, anyways.
If there was, everybody be playing with the exact same
with the
racket.
same racket and same strings and
everybody be beating everybody.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you a question to close out this podcast. You've been in this tennis industry.
Just don't ask me the worst person I ever strung for.
No,
I can't answer that one. I would love to, but I will not.
What is one trait or one, personality trait, I would say, that you think it's important? This is not strings. This is not related to strings, okay?
Yep.
Because you've been around a lot of professional tennis players,
Right.
women and men. Like, what is one, if you could pick one, like, personality trait of, like, of the top players, like, if they have something in common?
Yep, they do.
Okay.
I was thinking about this last night when I was going over this. All the players that I've had the pleasure of personally dealing with have a kind of sort of one thing that is very in common. It's the love for the game. If you don't love what you're doing, if you're going to go out there and hit 1,000 balls in 100-degree heat, there's so many different stories of Monica Seles doing stuff and Pete Sampras and these guys and ladies were just so in love with what they were doing that drove them. They didn't care about the money. They just wanted to play tennis to win the trophies, and that was it.
Oh my God, I love this. I love this, closing out the podcast with this, because this is why I'm going back on tour, because of the love of the game. And that's the number one reason. Not for anything else. It's because I missed it so much throughout these years, that the love that I have for it, I can't explain to anybody. Like, I can't. But that is amazing.
And watching all these players do what they do because of that is amazing.
Yes.
Because I just couldn't bring myself to that level.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It is
so hard.
And that's what makes them so special, and the longevity of all these players of staying in that world for so long.
Yes. Yeah.
People don't respect that enough.
Unless you're in the sport and you understand that there's something. If you're just an outsider that just follows tennis here and there, they kind of get it, but
no, they don't understand the sacrifices and stuff that they go through, for sure. The only thing I want to mention is that we didn't even get to my custom painted jobs, but that'll be for another one. We'll do something down the road. The custom,
if you want
painting.
Go mention it.
Well, we obviously, the big part of my business is also doing custom paint jobs on rackets, and we do personal custom paint jobs. So
what do you mean? Like how? Well, like
whatever you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And obviously, I have galleries up on my website, CustomTennisRackets.com, and on my Instagram. It really took off during the pandemic because people couldn't play and they could deal with not having their racket for 6 to 8 weeks because that's what time frame we need to paint it in. So it kind of just like it exploded into that. And there's a lot of people that we've done. I do a lot of rackets for pros that black out when they're testing rackets.
Wow.
Yep, we do that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a totally different part of the business, but it's a big part of my business that's growing.
Oh, you see, that's great that you said. Anything else about your business? Or no?
That's about it, I think.
Well, follow Curt on social media and check out his website. And any questions, you can reach out to him either on Instagram or me. I'll connect you with him. Thank you so much again. This was great. It went by so fast, right?
Yes, it did. And we'll have to update everybody on your
so
progress.
We should do like another podcast.
We're
We're
gonna go on the court with you. We're gonna do your rackets, and then you can come back and we can go over it.
And then if I don't make it and I don't start winning, it's basically your fault.
Then I'm not coming back.
No more.
You got it.
Okay, thanks, Curt.
Emma, thanks.
Thank you so much for supporting and listening to our podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media.
And be sure to listen to next week's episode of the EMAzing Tennis Podcast.